Let me ask you a question, a very serious question. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting for the right moment that never seems to arrive? Are you waiting for permission from a world that is too busy to notice you? Are you waiting for the economy to get better, for your boss to finally recognize your worth, or for that lucky break that always seems to go to someone else? Every tick of the clock you just heard is a moment of your one and only life slipping away, gone forever. And most people spend their entire lives waiting for a rescue party that was never dispatched. I am here today to share with you a simple and perhaps the most liberating truth you will ever hear. Nobody is coming. Nobody is coming to fix your finances. Nobody is coming to build your dream career. Nobody is coming to give you the life you desire. And that is the best news you could ever receive. Because the moment you stop looking for a savior, you discover the power that was within you all along. You see, the winds of circumstance, of difficulty, of opportunity, they blow on us all. The same winds. But what separates the person who reaches their destination from the one who is lost at sea is not the wind, it is the set of their sail. For the next hour, we are not going to talk about temporary motivation. We are going to re-engineer the very set of your sail. We are going to give you the blueprint, the ultimate guide to personal power. You will learn the unshakable laws of absolute responsibility, how to build a belief in yourself when no one else does, and the hidden power of discipline and silent execution. This is not a lecture, this is an intervention. Your future is waiting for you to stop waiting and start building. The only question left is, will you? Let's begin. So, we have established the premise, a truth as stark as it is liberating. Nobody is coming. That rescue party you might have been waiting for, it was never dispatched. That perfect moment, it does not exist. There is only you, and there is now. And with that understanding, we arrive at the great turning point in every successful life. It is not a strategy. It is not a tactic. It is a fundamental shift in the very ground beneath your feet. It is the bedrock upon which every great achievement, every fortune, every masterpiece of a life has ever been built. We are here to talk about the unshakable foundation, absolute personal responsibility. Now, I know that phrase might not sound glamorous. It doesn't have the sizzle of overnight success or the allure of a secret formula. But I assure you, within these three words lies the master key to unlocking your full potential. To neglect this foundation is to build your life's ambitions on sand, destined to crumble at the first sign of a storm. But to embrace it, to truly embrace it, is to begin building your fortress on solid rock. The original transcript we are drawing from states it bluntly: your struggles are yours alone. That is the harsh reality. But we must go deeper. We must understand why this truth is not a curse, but the ultimate blessing. Let's begin by examining the alternative to responsibility. What is its opposite? It is the subtle, seductive, and ultimately poisonous habit of making excuses, blame, justification. Most people live their lives encased in a prison they have built for themselves, bar by bar, with the excuses they make every day. And the tragedy is, they don't even realize they are imprisoned. They think these bars are protecting them. Why do we do it? Why do we blame our circumstances, our past, the economy, our boss, our family? It is not simply out of laziness. It is a deep-seated mechanism of self-preservation. To blame something or someone else is to momentarily absolve ourselves of the pain of our own shortcomings. It's a short-term anesthetic. If it's not my fault, I don't have to endure the difficult process of changing. If the system is rigged, then my failure is not a reflection of my effort, but a sign of my victimhood. The list of excuses is as long as it is tragic. I would have been successful if only I'd had a better education. I would be in great shape if only I had more time. I would have started that business if only the economy were better. I can't succeed because of the way I was raised. Listen to those words, if only, because of. They are the language of captivity. Every time you use them, you are handing over the steering wheel of your life to something outside of yourself. You are declaring, I am not in control. Let me tell you a story. There were once two brothers who grew up in the same house with a father who was a chronic alcoholic. He was abusive, unreliable, and cast a long, dark shadow over their childhood. Years later, the two brothers are adults. One has become a successful, respected businessman, a loving husband and father who never touches a drop of alcohol. The other has become an alcoholic, just like his father, unable to hold a job, his life in ruins. A sociologist studying the effects of parenting decides to interview them both separately. He asks the first brother, the successful one, "How did you manage to build such a wonderful life coming from that background?" The brother looks at him and says, "With a father like that, what choice did I have? I had to become the opposite." Then the sociologist goes to the second brother, the one whose life is falling apart. He asks him, "Why did you end up this way?" The brother looks back with bloodshot eyes and says, "With a father like that, what choice did I have?" The same circumstance, the same wind, a completely different set of the sail. One brother used his past as a reason to propel himself forward. The other used it as an excuse to remain anchored in failure. Your struggles, your past, your disadvantages, they are real. I do not discount them, but they are not a life sentence. They are simply the raw material you have been given. The question is not what you have, but what you are going to do with what you have. Are you going to use it to build a case for your own failure? Or are you going to use it as the fuel to forge an extraordinary life? An excuse is a chain you forge yourself, link by link, with every justification. It feels like a safety blanket, but it is a cage. The first step to freedom is to see the bars for what they are. There comes a day in a person's life, a moment of truth that can change everything that follows. It is not a birthday. It is not a new year. It is the day you look in the mirror with no blame, no justification, and you say two of the most powerful words in the human language: I'm responsible. Not I'm to blame, which is about the past, but I'm responsible, which is about the future. This is the great turning point. It is the moment you graduate from the childhood of your life to your adulthood. It is the moment you stop being the effect and start becoming the cause. You cease being a passenger, tossed about by the whims of circumstance, and you firmly grip the steering wheel. What does it truly mean to accept 100% responsibility? Let's be very clear about this, because it is often misunderstood. It does not mean you are at fault for every event that befalls you. You are not responsible for a hurricane. You are not responsible for the economy. You are not responsible for how other people choose to act, but you are and will always be 100% responsible for your response. You are responsible for the thoughts you choose to entertain. You are responsible for the meaning you assign to events. You are responsible for the actions you take or fail to take in the face of your circumstances. That is your power, and it is a power that no one can ever take from you. When you blame the traffic for being late, you are giving your power to the traffic. When you say, I am late because I did not plan for potential traffic, you retain your power. The event is the same. The locus of control has shifted from the external to the internal. This shift is the difference between a life of reaction and a life of creation. The person who lives in reaction is constantly on defense, a victim of the day's events. The person who lives in responsibility is on offense, the creator of their day's direction. Stop for a moment and consider the areas of your life where you feel stuck. Your career, your health, your finances, your relationships. Now ask yourself with brutal honesty, who or what have I been blaming for this situation? Have I been waiting for someone else to fix it? Have I been using a story about my past as a justification for my present inaction? The moment you stop pointing your finger outward and instead point your thumb back at your own chest is the moment the fog begins to lift. The solutions, which were once invisible, suddenly start to appear. Why? Because you have stopped looking for a rescue and have started looking for a path. And the moment you start looking for a path, you will find one. This isn't about being harsh on yourself. It's about empowering yourself. It's about saying, my life's quality up to this point is a result of my past choices and my past responses. Therefore, the quality of my future life will be determined by the choices and responses I make starting right now. That is freedom. That is power. And it is available to you in this very moment. Now, for many, the heaviest anchor holding them back is their past. The transcript mentions blaming past failures. But it's more than that. It's past hurts, past betrayals, past mistakes, the ghosts of what if and if only. The responsible person understands a profound truth. The past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Its purpose is to instruct, not to imprison. Too many people drag their past behind them like a ball and chain. Every new opportunity is viewed through the lens of a past failure. Every new relationship is tainted by the fear of a past betrayal. They are living in a psychological prison, and the warden is their own memory. Taking responsibility for your past does not mean ignoring it. It means changing your relationship with it. It means you must stop being a victim of your history and start being a student of it. There is a beautiful Japanese art form called kintsugi. When a piece of pottery, a bowl, or a vase breaks, the kintsugi masters don't throw it away. Instead, they meticulously piece it back together using a special lacquer mixed with powdered gold, silver, or platinum. The philosophy behind it is that the object's history of being broken is not something to hide. In fact, the cracks, now filled with precious metal, become the most beautiful part of the piece. The bowl is more valuable, more unique, and more resilient because it was broken. This is the perfect metaphor for your past. Your mistakes, your heartbreaks, your failures, these are your cracks. The irresponsible person tries to hide them, to pretend they don't exist, or to use them as an excuse for why they can't be whole. The responsible person practices a kind of personal kintsugi. They look at their scars and say, this is where I was tested. This is where I learned. This is what made me stronger. They take the gold of wisdom from the lacquer of experience and they mend themselves. They don't just become whole again. They become something more beautiful and more resilient than they were before. Own your scars. They are the proof that you have lived, that you have fought, and that you have healed. Do not let them be the story of your defeat. Let them be the map of your strength. When you stop giving your past the power to define you, you reclaim the power to define your future. Instead of saying, I can't do this because of what happened to me, you will be able to say, I can do this because of what I learned from what happened to me. That is the shift that changes everything. Embracing this philosophy is not easy. Let us be honest about that. It is far easier in the short term to complain, to blame, and to wait. Taking responsibility is hard work. It requires constant vigilance, mental toughness, and a refusal to fall back into old habits. It is the price of freedom. So, what does this look like in practice? What are the daily disciplines of a truly responsible individual? First, they change their questions. An irresponsible person asks disempowering questions. Why does this always happen to me? Whose fault is it? Why is life so unfair? These questions lead to a sense of helplessness. A responsible person asks empowering questions. What can I learn from this? What is the opportunity here? What can I do right now to improve this situation by just 1%? These questions lead to action. Second, they focus on their circle of influence. Imagine two concentric circles. The outer circle is your circle of concern. It contains all the things you worry about. The global economy, politics, the weather, what other people think. Most people spend 90% of their energy here in a circle they have zero control over. The inner circle is your circle of influence. It contains the things you can directly affect. Your habits, your skills, your attitude, your work ethic, your responses. The responsible person pulls all of their energy and focus out of the circle of concern and invests it entirely into their circle of influence. They know that the only way to eventually make the inner circle bigger is to work exclusively within it. Third, they view problems as raw materials. Most people see a problem and their first thought is, oh no, a roadblock. The responsible person sees the same problem and thinks, interesting, a puzzle, a raw material. Every problem contains within it the seed of a new solution, a new product, a new skill, a new opportunity. Success is not the absence of problems, it is the mastery of them. Responsible people are not problem avoiders, they are problem solvers. There is an ancient Greek myth of Sisyphus, who was condemned by the gods for eternity to push a giant boulder up a hill, only for it to roll back down each time he neared the top. For centuries, This was seen as the ultimate symbol of a meaningless, futile struggle. But some philosophers offered a radical reinterpretation. They suggested that the moment Sisyphus accepts his fate, the moment he takes full responsibility for his task and focuses on the struggle itself, the straining of his muscles, the feel of the rock, the rhythm of his breathing, he transcends his punishment. By embracing his burden, he becomes free. They famously concluded, one must imagine Sisyphus happy. This is a profound lesson for us. Life will continue to give you boulders to push up hills. That is guaranteed. You can spend your life cursing the boulder, cursing the hill, and cursing the gods. Or you can take responsibility for the task. You can find meaning, strength, and even joy in the struggle itself. You can choose to find your freedom not by escaping your challenges, but by mastering your response to them. This foundation of absolute personal responsibility is not just one part of the puzzle of life. It is the frame itself, the border within which all other pieces must fit. You cannot build unshakable self-belief, which is our next topic, if you do not first believe you are the one in control. You cannot practice discipline if you believe your actions don't ultimately matter. So, this is your first and most important task. Tear up your list of excuses. Abandon the language of blame. Look at your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and accept it all as the starting point from which you will now build your masterpiece. Own your struggles. Own your scars. Own your future. Because nobody is coming, and that is your power. In our last chapter, we undertook the most difficult, yet most crucial journey a person can make, the journey from blame to ownership. We have established the unshakable foundation, the bedrock truth that you, and you alone, are responsible for the quality of your life. You have accepted that you are the captain of your ship. The power is in your hands. And now, we arrive at the next and equally profound question. Now that you are at the helm, now that you hold the wheel, how do you navigate? Do you trust your own ability to read the stars and chart the course? Or do you find yourself constantly looking to other ships, asking for their maps, begging for their approval of your direction? You see, taking responsibility gives you the power to act, but it is self-belief that gives you the permission to act boldly. Without it, you are a captain frozen by doubt, adrift in a sea of indecision. This brings us to our next great subject, forging the inner compass, the art and science of building unshakable self-belief. This is not about arrogance. It is not about empty affirmations. It is about building a reputation with the most important person you will ever know, yourself. The original transcript states, stop seeking approval. This is wise advice, but it is like telling a thirsty person to simply stop being thirsty. We must understand the nature of the thirst. We must deconstruct this deep human addiction to validation before we can hope to break free from it. Why do we crave approval so desperately? Why does a word of praise from a stranger lift us up, and a hint of criticism from a colleague send us into a spiral of doubt? This need is not a weakness. It is a deeply ingrained survival mechanism. As children, our very survival depended on the approval of others. The approval of our parents meant food, safety, and love. The approval of our peers meant acceptance and belonging. Approval was a currency for survival. The tragedy is that most people carry this outdated childhood software into their adult lives. They step into the world of immense potential, but they are still running a program that says, I am not safe unless I am validated. My ideas are not worthy unless they are applauded. My actions are not correct unless they are approved. And so they begin the great chase, the chase for likes, for compliments, for promotions, for permission. They become what I call external people. Their sense of self is not a solid core within them, but a flickering reflection in the eyes of those around them. Imagine living in a hall of mirrors. Every mirror, you look into the mirror of your boss, your spouse, your friends, the anonymous faces on social media shows you a different reflection. A distorted reflection based on their own moods, their own insecurities, their own limited perspectives. In this hall of mirrors, You can spend a lifetime contorting yourself, trying to find an angle that pleases every reflection, and in the process, you will completely lose sight of who you truly are. Unshakable self-belief is the act of walking out of that hall of mirrors. It is the decision to stop looking at 1,000 distorted reflections and to instead consult a single clear pane of glass, your own well-founded judgment. The transcript tells us most people spend their entire lives chasing approval. Let's consider the catastrophic cost of this chase. How many brilliant ideas have died in the silence of a boardroom because their author was afraid of what others might think? How many potential artists have put down their brushes? Writers have closed their laptops. Entrepreneurs have abandoned their business plans, all because a well-meaning but fearful person told them to be realistic. The graveyard of dreams is filled to overflowing with the bodies of great ideas that were murdered by the fear of disapproval. Your potential is too important, your time is too precious, and your one life is too sacred to let it be held hostage by the opinions of others. Breaking this addiction is the first step toward true freedom. It begins with the conscious decision to fire the jury. You are the sole judge of your own effort and your own worth. Everyone else's opinion is simply data, to be considered or discarded as you see fit. You must move from seeking approval to seeking progress. And that requires a new way of building your self-concept. So, if self-belief is not granted by others, where does it come from? Here is one of the most important lessons I have ever learned. Self-belief is not a feeling you wait for. It is a reputation you build with yourself through evidence. You do not simply decide to believe in yourself. That is a flimsy, unreliable state. You must earn your own trust. You must prove to yourself, through your own actions, that you are worthy of your own belief. Think of it this way. How do you come to trust another person? It is not because they tell you, you can trust me. It is because they consistently do what they say they are going to do. Their actions align with their words. Over time, through a series of kept promises, trust is built. The process of building self-trust is exactly the same. You are both the promise maker and the promise keeper. The relationship is internal. This is a process of forging, not finding. Imagine a blacksmith crafting a master sword. The blade is not found in the fire. It is forged through a relentless process. It is heated in the furnace of intention, placed on the anvil of reality, and hammered by the force of discipline. It is then quenched in the waters of experience, and the process is repeated over and over. A single strike of the hammer does little, but 1,000 consistent strikes, 1,000 kept promises, transform a lump of raw iron into a blade of tempered, unbreakable steel. Your self-belief is that sword, and the hammer is the small daily promise that you keep to yourself. This is how you begin. You do not start by promising yourself you will conquer the world. You start with something laughably small, something you know you can do, yet something you have been putting off. You make a promise. Today, regardless of how I feel, I will read 10 pages of a good book. Or, today I will go for a 15-minute walk. Or, today I will make that one phone call I have been dreading. Then the critical part. You do it. You show up for yourself. You keep the appointment. At the end of the day, you have a small, tangible piece of evidence. That promise is a single brick. You look at it and say, I am a person who just kept a promise to myself. That is who I am. The next day, you lay another brick, and the next, another. These are not grand gestures. They are small, consistent acts of personal integrity. But the effect is cumulative. Brick by brick, you are not just building habits, you are building a new identity. You are constructing a fortress of self-trust. And when the great storms of life come, when doubt and fear and criticism rain down upon you, you will have a fortress to stand in. Your belief won't be a flimsy tent of positive thinking that gets blown away by the first gust of wind. It will be a stone fortress built of the hard evidence of your own discipline and your own integrity. You will be able to say, I believe in myself not because it feels good, but because I have the evidence. I have a long history of showing up for myself. That is belief. That is faith in your own capabilities, forged in the fire of daily action. Now here is a difficult truth you must accept on this journey. During the hardest parts of your work, during the messy middle where the initial excitement has faded and the final results are not yet in sight, the world will be silent. The transcript puts it perfectly. Success is a lonely road. There will be no applause when you wake up at 5 a.m. while others are sleeping. There will be no standing ovation when you choose to study or practice your craft instead of indulging in mindless entertainment. There will be no validation when you are pouring your heart and soul into a project that, for the moment, exists only as a vision in your mind. This is the phase where most people quit. Why? Because their addiction to approval kicks in. They mistake the absence of applause for the absence of progress. They think, if no one is noticing, is it really worth it? The great achievers understand that the private victory must always precede the public victory. The work you do in silence, when nobody is watching, is the most important work you will ever do. It is in these moments that character is built. It is in these moments that true mastery is forged. You must learn to become your own source of validation. You must learn to be your own applause. How? By shifting your metric for success. Your reward system must move from the external to the internal. Instead of asking at the end of the day, did I get praise? You must ask, did I do the work I committed to doing? The satisfaction must come from the effort, not the outcome. It must come from knowing that you gave your absolute best, that you kept the promise, that you won the private battle against your own laziness, your own procrastination, your own doubt. That is a victory that no one can ever give you and no one can ever take away. This is about cultivating a state of what I call purposeful solitude. It's not loneliness. It is a chosen state of focus. It is the understanding that your vision is like a seed. It needs to be planted in the dark soil of silent, focused effort. If you keep digging it up to show people, asking them if they think it will grow, it will die. You must have the faith and the fortitude to tend to it in private, to water it with discipline, knowing that eventually it will break through the surface for all to see. Learn to enjoy the silence. Learn to find fulfillment in the process. When you can sit with your work in a quiet room with no one to impress but yourself and find deep satisfaction in the simple act of execution, that is when you have become truly powerful. Inevitably, the silence will be broken. As you begin to make progress, as your vision starts to take shape, you will attract attention, and not all of it will be positive. The silence will be replaced by noise, the noise of doubt, of skepticism, of criticism. It will come from strangers, but more painfully, it will often come from those closest to you. They will say, "Are you sure about this? That seems very risky. Why don't you just get a safe job? Don't get your hopes up." As the transcript wisely notes, this often comes not because they want to see you fail, but because they can't imagine success beyond their own limitations. They are handing you a map of their small world and warning you not to sail off the edge, not realizing that you are destined for new continents. Their advice is a reflection of their fears, not an assessment of your potential. If you have not built your fortress of self-belief, this is where you will crumble. Their doubt will become your doubt. So how do you handle it? You must forge a shield of what I call benevolent indifference. It is not arrogance. Arrogance says, "I'm better than you." Indifference says, "Your opinion of me is none of my business." It is a calm, centered strength that does not get thrown off course by the winds of external opinion. Here is your strategy for wielding this shield. First, consider the source. When criticism comes your way, ask yourself a simple question. Is this person qualified to give an opinion on this matter? Have they built what I am trying to build? Have they taken the risks I am taking? If the answer is no, you can listen politely, but you must give their opinion zero emotional weight. You would not take financial advice from a bankrupt person. Do not take advice on your dreams from someone who has given up on their own. Second, separate the signal from the noise. Occasionally, within a cloud of criticism, there may be a valuable piece of feedback, a signal. A responsible person learns to dispassionately look for the signal. Is there a flaw in my plan they've pointed out that I can fix? If so, be grateful for the feedback. Use it to improve and discard the emotional noise that came with it. This requires maturity and a lack of ego. Third, and most importantly, You must be the gatekeeper of your own mind. Your mind is a garden. If you let anyone and everyone throw their seeds of doubt, fear, and negativity over the fence, soon your garden will be overrun with weeds. You have the right and the responsibility to be a vigilant gatekeeper. When someone offers you an unsolicited negative opinion, you can simply say to yourself, "Thank you for sharing, but I do not grant that thought permission to enter my mind." You don't have to argue. You don't have to defend yourself. You simply refuse entry. Remember the cathedral we spoke of earlier? As the walls get higher, more people will notice. Some will admire it. Others will say the spires are too tall, the design is all wrong. The architect cannot afford to run down from the scaffolding every time he hears a comment from the street. He must stay focused on the blueprint, trusting the vision he holds within. Your self-belief is your blueprint. Trust it, protect it, build according to it. And so, we see that building unshakable self-belief is not a passive act of wishing. It is an active, disciplined, architectural process. You break the addiction to external approval by understanding its origin and seeing its cost. You become the architect of your own self-concept, laying a foundation of trust brick by brick with every small promise you keep to yourself. You learn to thrive in the productive silence, becoming your own source of validation and applause. And you forge a shield of indifference to protect your mindset from the inevitable noise of doubt and criticism. Once you have done this, you will possess something extraordinary, an inner compass, a guidance system that is independent of the weather, independent of the opinions of other sailors, independent of the changing tides. It will always point towards your true north. With the foundation of absolute responsibility beneath your feet and this true compass in your hand, you are now prepared. You have the power, and you have given yourself the permission. You are no longer waiting for the world to tell you who you are or what you are capable of. The question now becomes, how do you channel this profound inner state into consistent, powerful, outward action? How do you translate this belief into tangible results? That brings us to the engine of all achievement, the bridge between the internal and the external, the master skill known as discipline. We are at the halfway point of our conversation. We've discussed the foundation of personal responsibility and the inner compass of self-belief. These are the what and the why. Before we move into the how, the practical disciplines that bring these philosophies to life, I want to invite you to do something simple. If this conversation has been of value to you so far, take a moment to subscribe to this channel. Our purpose here is to continue exploring these life-changing ideas together. By subscribing, you ensure you won't miss the next part of the journey. It's a small click, but it's an affirmation that you are committed to your own growth. Now, let's talk about the engine of achievement. In our journey together so far, we have laid two monumental cornerstones for a life of achievement. First, we established the bedrock of absolute personal responsibility, the understanding that you are the sole captain of your ship. Second, we forged the inner compass of self-belief, the unshakable trust in your own ability to navigate. You now possess the power, and you have given yourself the permission. And yet, this is where many well-intentioned journeys end. A person can have a ship their life, they can accept they are the captain responsibility, and they can even have a map and trust their ability to read it, self-belief. But if the ship has no engine, it will remain a magnificent vessel, dead in the water. It will drift with the currents, a testament to unrealized potential. What then is the engine? What is the force that propels you forward day after day through the calm, boring seas and the violent, terrifying storms alike? This brings us to the most practical and perhaps the most misunderstood of all success principles. We are here to talk about the engine of all achievement. We are here to talk about discipline. The original transcript we are drawing from makes a very bold statement. Motivation is a lie. I would like to refine that. Motivation is not a liar, but it is a profoundly unreliable and fair-weather friend. It is the guest who shows up to the party only when the music is loud and the lights are bright, but vanishes at the first sign of cleanup. And most of the world has built their life strategy around this fickle friend. They are waiting for the feeling of motivation to strike before they take action. And so, most of the world is waiting. We are here today to fire motivation from its role as the manager of your life and relegate it to its proper place. A temporary, welcome visitor. And in its place, As the chairman, the CEO, and the janitor of your ambitions, we will install the quiet, unglamorous, but infinitely powerful force of daily discipline. Let us first deconstruct the myth of motivation. Why is it so seductive? Because it feels incredible. Motivation is an emotional lightning strike. It's a flash of brilliant energy that can illuminate the entire landscape of your potential. You watch a powerful movie, you listen to an inspiring speech, you have a sudden insight, and in that moment, you feel like you can conquer the world. The energy is real, the feeling is potent. But you cannot power a city with a lightning strike. As quickly as it comes, it is gone, leaving only the memory of light and the lingering smell of ozone. To power a city, you need something else. You need a power grid. You need a system that generates a steady, reliable, predictable current, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, whether it is sunny or storming. Discipline is your personal power grid. The great deception of our modern age is the motivation trap. We have become consumers of inspiration. We scroll through motivational quotes, we listen to podcasts, we watch videos like this one, and we get a temporary emotional high. It's a dopamine hit. And our brain mistakes that feeling of being inspired for actual progress. This creates a dangerous cycle. We feel unmotivated, so we seek an external stimulus. We get the hit of inspiration. We feel good. The feeling fades. No action was taken. We feel guilty and unmotivated again. We seek another hit. We become addicts of the feeling of ambition, not practitioners of the work of ambition. You must understand this. The professional does not wait for the feeling. The amateur is a slave to it. The amateur athlete only goes to the gym when they feel like it. The professional athlete goes to the gym because it is Tuesday. The amateur writer only writes when the muse strikes. The professional writer writes every morning from 8 a.m. to noon because that is what a writer does. The feeling of motivation is a wonderful byproduct of action, but it is a disastrous prerequisite. The successful person acts first. They begin the workout, they write the first sentence, they make the first call. And then, often, the feeling of motivation shows up to the party that action has already started. Action is the spark plug, motivation is the turbocharger that sometimes kicks in, but discipline is the pistons, reliably firing over and over, whether you feel like it or not. You must stop waiting for the lightning strike and start building your power grid. And that is built with the unsexy but unstoppable power of consistency. If I could distill the secret to success into a single word, it would be consistency. It is the master principle. The great fortunes of the world, in finance, in health, in relationships, are not built on one grand heroic act. They are the product of small, wise daily disciplines, compounded over time. One of the greatest teachers on this subject is not a guru or a philosopher, but the humble ant. The ant lives by a simple but profoundly effective set of principles. I call it the ant philosophy. First, ants never quit. If an ant is heading somewhere and you try to stop it, it will look for another way. It will climb over, it will climb under, it will climb around. It will keep searching for a way forward. Have you ever seen an ant get discouraged, throw its little hands up and say, well, I guess that's it, and go home? Never. What a simple, powerful philosophy. Never give up looking for a way to get where you are supposed to go. Second, ants think winter all summer. The summer is a time of abundance. The sun is shining. The food is plentiful. It would be easy for the ants to relax, to play, to take it easy. But they don't. They are relentlessly busy, gathering, storing, and preparing. Why? Because they know the winter is coming. They know that good times don't last forever. The wise person practices the same. They build their skills, save their money, and nurture their relationships when times are good in preparation for the inevitable seasons of difficulty. They don't wait for the storm to hit to start building a shelter. Third, ants think summer all winter. In the depths of the cold, dark winter, when they are huddled in their anthill, do they think the cold will last forever? No, they know the seasons will turn. They are poised, ready to emerge at the first warm day. This is a crucial lesson in optimism and resilience. During your personal winters, the times of failure, of loss, of discouragement, you must remind yourself This too shall pass. You must keep the vision of summer of your goals, of your future alive in your mind. And finally, the fourth part of the ant philosophy, ants do all they possibly can. How much will an ant gather during the summer? An interesting question. Will it gather just enough to get by? No. It will gather all that it possibly can. It has no quota, no minimum requirement. It has an all-in mindset. What a way to live. What if you adopted that for your own life? What if you decided to learn all you could, to work as hard as you could, to become all that you could possibly be? This is the philosophy of consistency. It's not glamorous. It's the boring, repetitive, day in, day out work that the ants do. And it is the same work that builds empires. The transcript is right. Success is boring. It's about falling in love with the process, with the repetition, with the daily act of showing up. Philosophy is essential, but it is useless without a practical method. So how do we translate the wisdom of the ant into a human system for daily discipline? It requires a set of tools. Let me give you 4 of the most powerful tools to forge your discipline. Tool number 1, the law of minimum engagement. The greatest enemy of action is inertia. Getting started is always the hardest part. Our minds are brilliant at exaggerating the difficulty of a task that lies before us. I have to go to the gym for an hour, feels overwhelming. So, we change the rule. The rule is no longer I have to work out for an hour. The new rule is I just have to put on my workout clothes and shoes. That's it. That's the victory. Can you do that? Of course. But what happens once your clothes are on? You think, well, I'm already dressed. I might as well go. This law is about lowering the barrier to entry so low that it is easier to do it than to argue with yourself about it. The goal is not to complete the task, but simply to start it. Momentum is a powerful force. Your job is just to create the initial spark. Tool number 2, the architecture of environment. Here is a truth you must accept. Your willpower is weak, but your environment is powerful. Willpower is like a muscle. It gets fatigued. If you spend all day resisting temptations, by the evening your willpower battery will be empty. The wise person does not rely on willpower. The wise person becomes an architect. They design an environment where the desired behavior is the path of least resistance. If you want to eat healthy, you don't fill your pantry with junk food and then try to resist it. You simply don't buy it. If you want to read more, you place a book on your pillow. If you want to stop wasting time on your phone in the morning, you put the charger in another room. This is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of intelligence. You are setting yourself up to win. You are making discipline the default option, not a constant battle. Tool number 3, the unbroken chain. This is a simple but profoundly effective technique. Get a large wall calendar. For each day you successfully perform your chosen discipline, whether it's writing 500 words, making 5 sales calls, or meditating for 10 minutes, you put a big bold X over that day. Your only job then becomes this: don't break the chain. After a few days you'll have a chain. You'll like seeing it. Your job is not to write a masterpiece or make $1 million. Your job is to not break the chain. This visual feedback is incredibly powerful. The growing chain becomes a testament to your commitment. The pain of breaking that beautiful long chain will soon become greater than the pain of doing the daily work. Tool number 4, the philosophy of 1%. We often get discouraged because we don't see immediate, massive results. We work hard for a week and don't see a change, so we quit. This is because we fail to appreciate the staggering power of compounding. If you get just 1% better at something each day, the math is astonishing. After 1 year, you will be nearly 38 times better than when you started. Think about that. A small, almost imperceptible daily improvement leads to an exponential leap in results over time. This should change your entire perspective. It makes the small, boring daily disciplines feel incredibly meaningful. You are not just laying one brick. You are contributing to a cathedral. Trust the process. The results will come, not in a sudden explosion, but as the inevitable consequence of your consistent daily effort. Now we must add a final, crucial layer to our philosophy of discipline. It is not enough to simply show up. We must be concerned with the quality of our effort when we do. This is about moving from simple consistency to a pursuit of excellence. This is where you must adopt the mindset of a professional. An amateur hopes, a professional works, an amateur has a dream. A professional has a process. The key difference is the standard to which they hold themselves. The transcript urges you to push yourself harder than anyone else would. This is the essence of a professional standard. You are not competing against the person next to you. You are not trying to meet your boss's expectations. You are competing against your own potential. You are holding yourself accountable to the vision of the person you are capable of becoming. Let me tell you about a world-renowned concert violinist. After a breathtaking performance that brought the entire audience to its feet in a thunderous ovation, a young admirer came backstage. The admirer said, "I would give my life to be able to play like that." The old violinist looked at the young person, his eyes both kind and piercing, and replied, "I did." That is the price of excellence. It is paid in the currency of hours, of sweat, of sacrifice, when no one is watching. It is the willingness to do the extra rep, to read the extra chapter, to rehearse one more time, not because someone is forcing you to, but because you would know if you didn't. You must cultivate an inner coach, an inner mentor who is compassionate but firm. This is the voice that, when you are tired and want to quit, says, "You have more in you." This is the voice that doesn't accept your excuses because it has seen the blueprint of your true capabilities. This is not about self-flagellation. It is about self-respect. You respect your potential enough to demand that you live up to it. You stop doing the bare minimum. You stop looking for shortcuts. You start taking the path of maximum effort because you know that the path of effort is also the path of growth. Ask yourself, if I were the best in the world at what I do, what would I be doing right now? Then go and do that. Hold yourself to that standard, not once, but every single day. That is how you move from being a dabbler to a master, from an amateur to a professional. So, we see that discipline is not a punishment. It is not a prison. It is the key that unlocks the door to freedom. The freedom from your moods, the freedom from your weaknesses, the freedom to build the life you truly desire. We have dismantled the great deception of motivation, seeing it for the fair weather friend it is. We have embraced the quiet, relentless wisdom of the ant philosophy. We have forged the practical tools, the law of minimum engagement, the architecture of environment, the unbroken chain, and the philosophy of 1% to build our daily practice. And we have committed to holding ourselves to the highest professional standard, competing only against our own potential. You have now built the engine. You have installed a powerful, all-weather machine of discipline that can drive your ship forward every single day without fail. But an engine, no matter how powerful, is useless if it is spinning its wheels in a dozen different directions at once. An engine that is not aimed at a specific destination is just making noise and burning fuel. To truly make progress, to move from simple activity to meaningful achievement, you must now learn how to channel all of this disciplined energy. You must learn how to aim this powerful engine toward a single, vital point of impact. And that brings us to our next great subject, the art and science of focus. In our previous chapter, we constructed the engine. We assembled the powerful all-weather machine of discipline, an engine capable of propelling you forward every single day, without fail, regardless of the fickle winds of motivation. You now possess a relentless capacity for action. But action without direction is merely chaos. An engine, no matter how powerful, if left unsteered, will either spin its wheels burning precious fuel or crash into the nearest obstacle. Power is essential, but power unaimed is useless, even dangerous. This brings us to the final operational principle in our guide to personal power. This is the art of directing the engine. This is how you transform the raw energy of discipline into breakthrough results. We are here to discuss the twin arts of quiet execution, focus, and silence. If discipline is the engine of your ship, then focus is the rudder, the lens, and the compass, all in one. It determines your direction, magnifies your power, and keeps you true to your course. Let me give you an analogy. Think of your disciplined effort as sunlight. On a normal day, The sunlight falling upon a field can warm it, can help things grow, but it has a diffuse, gentle power. But if you take that very same sunlight and concentrate it through a magnifying glass onto a single point, what happens? It can start a fire. It can burn through steel. The energy didn't change, but its application did. Focus is your mental magnifying glass. Most people live their lives with dispersed energy. They are trying to do a dozen things at once, their attention scattered like sunlight on a cloudy day, and they wonder why they never start a fire. We are living in what I call the age of distraction. There has never been a time in human history with more forces competing for a piece of your attention. And you must understand this, there is a war being waged for your focus. Every notification, every advertisement, every piece of gossip, every mindless distraction is a soldier from an opposing army sent to colonize your mind and steal your most valuable asset. The war for your future will not be won with more motivation or more talent. It will be won or lost on the quiet battlefield of your daily attention. Before you can win a war, you must know your enemy. The transcript calls distractions the silent killers of potential. I would like you to think of them as the silent thieves of your life. They do not arrive with a loud bang. They seep in through the cracks of your day, stealing seconds, then minutes, then hours, until you wake up one day and realize they have stolen years. The first step to mastery is to conduct a ruthless audit. For 1 week, become a detective of your own life. Your most valuable, non-renewable asset is your time, the 1,440 minutes you are given each day. You must track where this currency is being spent. Be brutally honest. How much of it is invested in your growth and how much is being stolen? You will find that the thieves generally fall into 3 categories. First, there are the digital thieves. These are the most obvious and the most insidious. The endless scroll of social media, the constant ping of notifications, the rabbit hole of meaningless videos. These tools are designed by armies of engineers to be addictive. They offer the illusion of connection while often creating the reality of isolation. They give you a steady drip of low-value information, making you feel busy and informed, while actually preventing you from engaging in the deep thought required to create real value. You must see these for what they are, slot machines for your attention. Second, there are the social thieves. This is a more subtle category. It is the colleague who loves to gossip. It is the friend who only complains. It is the family member who constantly expresses their negativity and doubt. These conversations and interactions feel harmless, but they are thieves of your psychic energy. They fill your mind with noise, anxiety, and concerns that do not move you closer to your goals. They lower your standards and drain your ambition. And third, perhaps the most dangerous of all, are the mental thieves. These are the distractions that live inside your own head. It is the habit of worrying about a past you cannot change. It is the anxiety about a future you cannot predict. It is the illusion of multitasking, the constant switching between thoughts that prevents you from ever going deep on any one of them. It is the paralysis of overthinking. This internal noise is often the most exhausting thief of all. Until you identify these thieves and see the true cost of what they are stealing, not just your time, but your potential, your future, your one life, you will never have the motivation to fight them. Once you have identified the enemy, you must build your defenses. You must become the architect of a high-focus environment. As we discussed in our last chapter, your environment is more powerful than your willpower. This is doubly true for focus. You must create what I call a fortress of solitude. This is not about being lonely. It is about being deliberate. It is a time and a space designed for one purpose and one purpose only: deep work. There are 2 kinds of work in our modern world: shallow work and deep work. Shallow work is all the logistical stuff, answering emails, attending meetings, posting updates. It feels productive. It keeps the lights on, but it creates very little new value. Most people spend their entire day in the shallows. Deep work is the activity where you apply your skills to a challenging task, free from distractions. It is the work that creates new value, improves your skills, and is hard to replicate. It is writing the book. It is designing the strategy. It is solving the complex problem. It is mastering your craft. Your entire success will be a direct result of the quantity and quality of deep work you can produce. So, how do you build the fortress to enable it? First, you must use time blocking. You must schedule appointments with yourself for deep work. Put it in your calendar, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Deep work on Project X. You must treat this appointment with the same seriousness as a meeting with your most important client. It is non-negotiable. During this time, the world does not exist. Second, you must create a sacred space. This is a physical location, your desk, a room, a library, where when you enter it, your brain knows it is time to focus. There are rules for this space. The most important rule is your phone is not invited. It is turned off, silent, and in another room. All notifications on your computer are disabled. This space is a temple for concentration. Nothing that is not essential to the task at hand is allowed inside. Third, you must practice digital minimalism. You are the curator of your digital life. Be ruthless. Unsubscribe from mailing lists. Unfollow accounts that provide no value. Turn off all non-essential notifications on your phone. You must consciously design a digital environment that serves your goals, not the goals of tech companies. You must transform your tools from masters into servants. Building this fortress is not an extreme act. It is the necessary act of a professional who understands that in the 21st century, the ability to concentrate is a superpower. Now, even within your fortress, with your engine of discipline running, there is another layer to focus. Focus is not just about avoiding the wrong things. It is about choosing to do the right things. Many people are incredibly disciplined and focused on low-value tasks. They are busy being busy. They check off 50 items on their to-do list, but none of them were the one item that truly mattered. You must become a master of priority. There is a timeless principle that states that in any endeavor, roughly 80% of the results will come from 20% of the efforts. The master of focus does not treat all tasks as equal. They have the wisdom to identify that vital 20% and the courage to focus on it exclusively. Let me share a simple but powerful analogy. A philosophy professor once stood before his class with a large, empty mayonnaise jar. He filled the jar to the top with large rocks. He then asked the students if the jar was full. They agreed that it was. The professor then picked up a box of small pebbles and poured them into the jar. He shook the jar lightly, and the pebbles rolled into the open areas between the rocks. He then asked the students again if the jar was full. They agreed that it was. The professor then picked up a box of sand and poured it into the jar. The sand filled up everything else. He asked once more if the jar was full. The students responded with a unanimous yes. Now, said the professor, I want you to recognize that this jar represents your life. The rocks are the important things, your health, your family, your mission, the great work you are meant to do. The pebbles are the other things that matter, like your job, your house, your car. The sand is everything else, the small stuff. If you put the sand into the jar first, he continued, there is no room for the pebbles or the rocks. The same goes for your life. If you spend all your time and energy on the small stuff, you will never have room for the things that are most important. The art of focus is the art of putting the big rocks in first. Each morning, you must ask yourself, what are my big rocks today? What is the 20% of work that will create 80% of the results? What is the one thing that if I do it will make everything else easier or unnecessary? Identify it. And then, protect the first hours of your day to work on nothing but that. Do not start with the sand of checking email and social media. Start with the heavy lifting of your most important work. We have now established the internal discipline of focus. But this must be paired with an external strategy of execution. This strategy can be summarized in 3 words. Work in silence. The transcript says most people talk too much. Why? Because announcing your goals is easy. It feels good. It gives you a premature sense of accomplishment. You tell your friends, I'm going to write a book. They say, wow, that's amazing. And for a moment, your brain gets a social reward, a hit of validation, as if you had already done the work. Psychologists have studied this. Announcing your intentions can trick your brain into feeling that the task is already partially complete. This reduces the mental tension and the drive required to actually endure the long, difficult process of doing the work. Think of your ambition like a pressure cooker. To achieve a breakthrough, to transform the raw ingredients of your ideas into a finished meal, you need to build up intense heat and pressure over time. To do that, you must keep the lid on tight. Every time you talk about your plans, every time you post about your next big move, you are letting out a little steam. You are releasing the very pressure that is necessary for the transformation. You are dissipating your creative and psychological energy. The true professional, the master of execution, keeps the lid on. They do not talk about the book, they write the book. They do not talk about the business, they build the business. They work in a focused, quiet, internal pressure cooker, and they only take the lid off when the work is done. This is not about being secretive. It is about being strategic. It is about conserving every ounce of your energy for the only thing that actually matters, the execution. This brings us to the ultimate expression of this philosophy. Let your success be the noise. In a world filled with talkers, with self-promoters, with people building personal brands based on intention rather than accomplishment, your greatest competitive advantage is to be a builder, to be an executor. Your strategy should not be to convince people of the value of your vision. Your strategy should be to make your results so undeniable that they require no explanation. Consider the story of two architects. The first architect is brilliant at presentations. He creates stunning blueprints and 3D models. He spends his days in meetings, talking eloquently about the magnificent cathedral he is going to build. He gathers praise, he wins awards for his concepts, but the plot of land remains empty. The second architect is less of a talker. While the first is in meetings, he is at the site. Every single day, he lays one brick perfectly, then another and another. His progress is slow, almost invisible at first. No one is paying attention. He seeks no praise. He just focuses on laying the next brick. After a year, who has the cathedral? The world does not pay for blueprints. It does not reward eloquent speeches about what you intend to do. It rewards finished structures. It rewards results. Working in silence is a position of supreme confidence. It is the quiet confidence that your work will be so good, so valuable, so undeniable that it will not need a marketing campaign. It will speak for itself. You are not trying to look successful. You are busy becoming successful. Stop trying to convince the doubters. Stop trying to explain your vision to those who cannot see it. Your energy is too precious to be wasted in argument. Pour every ounce of that energy into your craft. Pour it into the work. Build your cathedral, brick by silent brick. And when it is finished, you will not need to say a word. They will see it. So, we see that the art of quiet execution is a two-sided coin. On one side is focus, the internal mastery of your own mind. It is about becoming the ruthless gatekeeper of your attention, identifying the thieves, building a fortress for deep work, and focusing only on the big rocks. On the other side is silence, the external strategy of execution. It is about resisting the temptation of the announcement, conserving your creative pressure, and choosing to make your results your only argument. You have now assembled all the major operational pieces. You have the foundation of responsibility. You have the compass of self-belief. You have the engine of discipline. And now you have the lens of focus and the strategy of silence. You possess the complete toolkit. You hold the blueprint for moving from intention to creation, from idea to reality. The only question that remains is the most personal and the most important of all. With these tools, with this knowledge, what great work will you now do? What masterpiece will you create on the canvas of your life? This brings us to our final contemplation. The artist, the canvas, and the legacy you will choose to leave behind. So, we come to the end of our time together, but to the beginning of a new way of living, should you choose to accept it. We have discussed the great truths that you are the captain of your ship, and it is the set of your sail, your philosophy, that determines your destination. That you must accept absolute responsibility for your life, for no one is coming to save you. We have learned that you must develop an inner compass, a self-belief so strong that it does not require the applause of the crowd. We have established that the engine of all achievement is not the fleeting emotion of motivation, but the steady, powerful engine of daily discipline. And we have recognized that in this noisy, distracted world, your greatest weapon is your ability to focus, to work in silence, and to let your success speak for itself. The question that the transcript leaves us with is the most important one. What are you going to do about it? Knowledge, you see, is not power. The application of knowledge is power. You can listen to this talk, feel inspired for an hour, and then go back to your old ways. If you do, nothing will change. The winds will continue to blow, and you will continue to drift. Or you can make a decision today, right now. You can decide to change the set of your sail, even if just by 1 degree. You can pick one idea, one discipline, and start today. Perhaps you will start by taking ownership and tearing up your list of excuses. Perhaps you will start by reading 10 pages of a good book every day. Perhaps you will decide to turn off your phone for the first hour of the day to think and plan. Do not try to do everything at once. Just do something. Start the process. Let me leave you with this final thought. Your life is a canvas. You have been given the paints, the brushes, and the canvas, and you are the artist. You can paint a masterpiece, or you can paint a mess. You can paint a life of vibrant color, of achievement, of joy, of contribution, or you can paint a life of dull gray, of regret and what-ifs. Every day, with every choice, with every discipline, practiced or neglected, you are adding a brushstroke to that canvas. If this conversation has given you even one idea, one spark to help you paint a better picture, then our time has been well spent. To continue this journey with us and to become part of a community dedicated to these principles, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We have much more to explore together. But for now, know this. You are powerful beyond measure. You have within you, right now, everything you need to build the life you desire. You don't need more luck. You don't need more support. You don't need permission. You just need to decide. The major key to your better future is you. Thank you for your time. Now, as the transcript so elegantly puts it, get to work.